Mario vs. Sonic is easily one of the most debated topics in all of fiction. However, ever since the 90s war, there has never been an official or obvious winner of this debate. Which is why when you look up Mario vs. Sonic shorts on YouTube and look in the comments, you'll find people pretty much being completely biased on both sides. However, other than my boy Tempest, who you should subscribe to if you want, I've never actually seen someone make a video on this set topic. So in today's video, I'm going to be answering the question, who would actually win? Sonic, the self-proclaimed fastest thing alive, or Mario, the Italian plumber from New York. One last thing before I start the video, please make sure to like and subscribe if you want, as my goal for this year is to try to at least reach 500 subs by the end of it. So if you guys want to subscribe, then please subscribe if you want to. Anyways, let's get into this video. I'm going to be starting with Mario, as I've already scaled and debunked a few statements of Sonic before prior in my Sonic vs Goku video. Shameless plug if you haven't seen it already. Anyways, for Mario's AP, in Mario Galaxy, Mario would go on to defeat Bowser, who at that point take the collapse of his Galaxy reactor, while also being heavily nerfed due to the fact that he was barely able to walk at that point. The Galaxy reactor was stated to have the power to destroy the very fabric of the universe. We do know in fact that this would be the case, since Mario at the beginning of the game directly talks about what happens when stars die, and Bowser even fears of the existence of his own empire, which is the aforementioned galaxy I previously said earlier. This is then later supported, as in the official game guide for Mario Galaxy. It is consistently stated that Bowser's Galaxy Reactor is called a universal threat that can decide the fate of the universe in its entirety. For those who don't believe me or are a bit skeptical if Mario even scales to this same Bowser, Mario in the same game and even prior games too, damaged this same Bowser to the point of unconsciousness, so logically due to that he should be able to scale to this set Bowser. Then, in the same game, Mario beats dozens of enemies that were powered up by the Grand Star, which was stated to destroy, recreate, and then reset the fabric of the universe in its entirety. Then, within Mario Galaxy 2, Mario fought a Grand Star enhanced Bowser who had enough power to create a black hole that was stated on multiple occasions to have the power to destroy the very universe. Keep in mind that this Mario is heavily nerfed and fatigued, as prior to Bowser, who fought numerous upon numerous of stars in Wong's Fortress, which Nintendo did in fact turn into a galaxy in the second installment of Mario Galaxy 2. Then, within the second Mario Galaxy, the worlds are entire universes, and it is also stated that you must travel through the entirety of space and time to get to these quote unknown worlds. We also know that the Matter Splattered Galaxy is a space that exists within the normal universe and can also be flown normally from the orbit and back as always. But however, with the street perpetually moving, phasing in and out of space and time, just like how a fourth dimensional object would in our own world, which would make the Matter Splattered Galaxy a fourth dimensional hyperspace, and the container for it, which is the normal universe itself, 5D. Now, I could go deeper into Mario scaling, however, just so Mario's AP doesn't take up 1/4 of the video, I'll leave it at that and just say that he has around 6-dimensional scaling with 7D arguments. As for Mario's speed, you could take it 3 ways. The first one being MFTL+, and that is if you want to believe that Mario would have to travel himself to reach the worlds within Mario Galaxy 2, then he would have to be at least MFTL+. Since as I already said prior, within Mario Galaxy, the galaxies, or levels in this case, are universal size worlds. If you want to argue or just assume that these worlds would have to be as big as our own universe, which according to Google, our own universe is around 93 billion light years long in diameter, then this would 100% make Mario have MFTL+ speeds. The second way you could scale his speed is inaccessible speed. This comes from the fact from the TikTok clock within Mario 64 is directly stated in the official Mario 64 guidebook that is a world/realm that is completely based on time, and Mario can control the time if time stops or moves or whatever. And since Mario was able to move in the stop time version, this would give him inaccessible speed. And the last meta for his speed is immeasurable speed. And I don't personally use this meta, but I'll just mention it just in case anyone here wants to use it. But it's kind of the same for the inaccessible speed scaling, but this time if we are taking into account that Bowser did create these paintings, which would mean that he would have to create time within the paintings, and since Mario would in fact scale to Bowser, as I said earlier and proved earlier, he would 100% have immeasurable speed. As for hacks and abilities, Mario, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have a lot of hacks that I could talk about, but he does in fact have a lot of abilities, such as his standard power-ups like the Star Power-Up, Invincible Leaf, Cat Bell, etc., etc. However, just so I don't ramble on each singular power-up that he has, I'll just show a list of all the power-ups that he'll have access to during this fight. Now, my scaling for Sonic has changed since my Sonic vs. Goku video, so I'll be mentioning a few things while I'm at it. Sonic's AP comes from Solaris, who was stated on multiple occasions was going to destroy space and time as a whole, and he was also going to destroy the past, present, and future timelines. Now, typically, since we've already talked about the cosmology in my previous Sonic video, this would probably, typically be 6th to 7th dimensional, right? But there is also a way to actually get this to universal. Let me explain. If you want to take into effect that he was going to destroy the concept of space and time as a whole, and since destroying the concept of space and time doesn't qualify for outer, this would make Solaris, universal. Now, I could see why this argument would be right, but I personally don't use it. However, even if you don't use outerversal scaling for Solaris, he should obviously 100% be hyperversal, since we know that the Image Comics are canon to the Sonic universe, and since we know that there are 20 dimensions within the verse, this would mean that Sonic's verse should have the same tier, due to the fact that this crossover is canon, since they do reference some older events in the Image Comics. So due to that, and with the previous scaling for Solaris earlier, this would make Solaris, and by that proxy, a current base Sonic around the 20D ranges of AP and tier. As for speed, he should 100% have infinite to immeasurable speed in his base form, as in this scan right here, it was stated that Sonic while in his super form has both infinite strength and infinite speed. And this is Sonic from Sonic X, who is way weaker than a current base Sonic, which would mean that by that proxy, this would mean that current base Sonic should have infinite speed. And for immeasurable speed, it mainly comes from Solaris, who was affecting the past, present, and future. It was also called by Eggman an omnipresent being, and since Sonic should scale above him in all stats at that point, since Infinite from Sonic Forces was stated to be Sonic's strongest enemy at that point, and since a current base Sonic from Frontier should obviously be massively above the Sonic from Sonic Forces, meaning that a current base Sonic should be in that infinite to immeasurable speed ranges of speed. There is also a relevant speed scaling if you take this scan at face value, but this is only if you want to believe that the Archie Sonic and Game Sonic cosmology are the same, and if you don't believe that, then Sonic should cap at immeasurable speed. As for Sonic's hacks, it's actually pretty easy to go over Mario's. He has Invulnerability, Immortality Type 3 and 8, Resurrection, Protective Aura, Resistance to Existence Erasure, and Low Godly Regen via his 1 billion rings, Molecule Manipulation / Intelligibility via Vibrating Fast Enough, Damage Reduction via Rings. He could tank the attack from Monster Ghoul in his base form, who absolutely outscales him, Power Nullification, possibly Passive Fate Manipulation, and Abstract Existence Type 2, is Embodiment of Chaos and consistently inconsistency on quantum level, which leads up to why he always wins against Eggman. Miguel also says a similar thing. Possibly Conceptual Manipulation Type 1, Law Manipulation, Space-Time Manipulation, Reality Warping, Information Manipulation Type 2, Dream Manipulation in his super form due to the Chaos Force, allowing him to control everything that shapeshifts reality, which would include concepts. Simple examples is Chaos Control, which restored all of Sonic's and Mega Man's reality, and many more hacks that I'll just list on the screen right now, and also the hacks that he'll have resistance to. I think the winner of this fight is pretty obvious, but Sonic is probably going to dog water Mario like how Infinite dog watered Sonic at the beginning of Sonic Forces, due to the massive stat difference between the two. Even power-ups that Mario will have access to during this fight, like the Star Power-Up, Flame Flower, Ice Flower, etc., wouldn't even affect Sonic, not just because there's a massive stat difference between the two, or because he has pretty much resistance to all of those abilities Mario has, but it's very disingenuous to say that the significantly weaker character could even affect or damage Sonic. Not to mention, but the significant Mario speed disadvantage he is at, with him pretty much capping at MFTO plus with inaccessible speed arguments, and Sonic at a low end and a mid end is already infinitely times over that set speed. meaning that the only thing you could do to try to make this fight even remotely close is to equalize their stats. However, even if you were to equalize their stats, you could still say Sonic would just one-shot him due to the massive hacks disadvantage Mario is at against Sonic. You can also make the argument that base Sonic might already be enough for Mario, as we know that a base Sonic should be far above a Super Sonic from Sonic 06, meaning that a current base Sonic could probably just bully him. I'm sorry to say this, but I'd be pretty surprised if Mario could even last a minute against Sonic, let alone this blue hedgehog crying. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you want to. As like I already said, I'm trying to get to 500 subs before the end of this year, or it's one of my goals for this year. So if you guys could subscribe, or if you want to, then I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, guys, peace.